Thank you all for coming. Can you hear me well? So I believe the topic is ancient wisdom in modern times. So it's a very interesting topic because it seems to make a distinction between modern times and ancient times. What is the difference between the wisdom of today and the wisdom of years ago or ancient times? It also makes a certain statement about knowledge. If you take the dictionary definition, wisdom is more like taking knowledge to a platform of understanding, where knowledge can be theoretical. You can have an idea of something through reading and through hearing, but wisdom is that knowledge which is perfect, or when applied to a particular situation, gets the desired result. So knowledge or wisdom is what we say realized knowledge, or that knowledge is complete. It's like we say, well, there's a man of knowledge, but then there's a man of wisdom. It takes it a step farther. Because knowledge can change, but wisdom doesn't change. Knowledge can keep coming where it reaches the platform of wisdom. Then it's no longer categorized as knowledge, but it's actually a way of living, as opposed to just a way of thinking and doing. So ancient wisdom is being given a particular definition that it comes from a time of antiquity, which is based on what is called that knowledge which is perfect. So nowadays, we go to educational institutions and colleges and universities and so many other forms of getting knowledge and education. But we see things are always changing. Ideas, theories, principles are always changing. That's not wisdom. That's more like a dialectic to try to come to a more better and more ideal understanding. But wisdom is perfection. And so we want wisdom. So that to get wisdom in a situation where you can apply that wisdom that is, when we say, timeless. That wisdom that never changes and it applies to all in every situation. So we say the Vedic wisdom, or there's a book of knowledge called the Vedas. The Vedas are the oldest man-made, not man-made, but man-aware knowledge in the history of knowledge. You can't trace out the Vedas. There's no history. Modern day scholars and scientists have done some research, but they give the wrong understanding or limit understanding that the Vedas are like 1,500 years old. But there are religious scriptures that date back at least 3,000, 5,000 years, which are based on the Vedas. So based on that knowledge or that wisdom, and what is the essential principle of that wisdom? And this is the main thing, is that knowledge today is more like knowledge of how to do things and how to get things. It's more like something that you bring towards you. You add it on. It's something coming from the outside. Well, wisdom is something that comes from the inside, that is inspired by external knowledge and awakens internal knowledge or wisdom. So what is it about the living being that makes that wisdom available? It's not intellectual power, because we see that people have various types of intellectual power, but can't even figure out how to live from day to day. And that's practically. So if your knowledge doesn't teach you how to be happy in life, what's the use? But wisdom is the knowledge of your nature, or is coming from your nature. So Vedic wisdom teaches you how to tap into that knowledge which is within you. It's already there. But then the question is, what part of you does it contain? Where is it? Where is it located? Is it located in your mind? Is it in your intelligence? Or is it somewhere else? So then this begs the question that the living entity, and this is basically the principle of ancient wisdom, is not simply a material entity. Material entity means we have a body, we have a mind, and they're made up of various components, and that makes us up. But ancient wisdom says there's another element of your existence which is actually your essence, which is what we say, not superfluous, but different, completely different from your body and your mind. And that is what is called the spirit. So ancient wisdom teaches knowledge based on three principles: the body, mind, and the spirit. Using the spirit as the foundation for all knowledge that is needed for the body and the mind. So this is the what we say the value of ancient wisdom. It goes right directly to your essence. Well, you see, modern day knowledge doesn't deal with you. It deals with your body and mind. So then your question is, well, if that's all I'm made of, my body and my mind, then when the body is no longer existed, I no longer exist. And the mind keeps changing according to situations. So is there something that's constant, that doesn't change? It's an essence that we get existence from, we get life from, we get inspiration from. That's it, that's the soul. So ancient wisdom teaches the nature of the soul and how the soul is the foundation for receiving all knowledge in all categories of knowledge. So based on that idea, when we have knowledge, spiritual knowledge, which is coming from external sources such as scripture, from saints like that, that knowledge is not simply limited to what we say spiritual practice. So this talk is not about religion. It's not about religion. It's not about a particular way to follow and worship the Lord. It's about understanding that truth that is fundamental to everyone's existence and how to apply that truth in a practical way where one can actually move forward in life, both mentally, physically, and spiritually. All three. Because knowledge is a direction in life. If we have the wrong knowledge, we go in the wrong direction. If we have limited knowledge, our direction, we won't reach, ultimately, ultimate happiness or success. So Vedas are that knowledge where you can apply ancient principles in all situations. We call it ancient because it's something that's happened in the past, but the knowledge is still relevant today. How to apply principles to live life in such a way as that we can actually understand the value of life and how to apply those things for successful. What is success in life? That's the question. Modern knowledge teaches, even in universities and something, that what you have is your success. But ancient knowledge teaches you what you are is your success. Or what you understand about yourself as who you really are is actually your success. It's based on character and lifestyle that is not dependent on what you have, what you're doing. So it teaches you your own perfection. Every living being is perfect, but we are living in an imperfect situation, and we're trying to find perfection and happiness in that imperfection. not possible. So therefore, modern knowledge somehow or other cuts away the essence of understanding values in life and just applies this to the external environment and the activities that center around that. You follow? Is it too complicated?
No.
Okay. Because I'm just talking a little philosophically. Practically speaking, I'll use a little story. And it's just an analogy. One man, he goes to India, where the Vedic knowledge, where ancient wisdom is more or less the birthplace. And there, he's a scholar. He's got all kinds of degrees. He's a professor, he's a high caliber educator. So he goes to India, and he just happens to run across one of the rivers. So he decides to get a boat and cross the river. So a boat is arranged, and this is very simple, little, boatman, doesn't have much clothes, looks like he doesn't have anything, but that's his job, rowing the boat. He makes a few rupees doing this. So the scholar gets in the boat, and they're going across the river. So the scholar is looking at the boatman, and he's thinking, this man doesn't know much. Maybe I should teach him something. He's a boatman, he's on the water. And he says to the boatman, do you know the science of oceanography? And the boatman says, what is that word you said? He doesn't even know what the word means. And then he's trying to explain oceanography. He says, I don't know what you're talking about. All I know is I'm rowing my boat. That's what I do. So the scholar, he's a little bit disappointed. So after some time he tries another thing. He says, there's a very big cosmos up there. There's so many stars, and it's very vast. Do you understand astronomy? Do you know what astronomy is? I'm sure you row your boat at night. So the boatman says, what's that word? So he doesn't know. So the scholar says, well, actually, because you didn't know the first question, 50% of your life is wasted. And the second question, now I can understand 75% of your life is wasted. You don't know the value, the important things in life that you need as a boatman. So the boatman says, okay. So they're going on, and after a while it starts to rain, and there's a storm. There's a violent storm. So the boat's starting to fill up with water. And then the boat, looks like the boat's going to capsize. So the boatman says, my dear scholar, do you know how to swim? He says, no. And the boatman says, well, 100% of your life. So you get the picture? The point is, that knowledge, which is important, is the difference between success and failure in life, and not so much having someone's intellectual abilities, which may even be useless, or you may crowd the real knowledge. Real wisdom is to understand that I am different than everything around me. And everybody else is the same as me, and they're thinking in the same way. In other words, I am a spiritual being. I have a material body. My mind also works in relationship to my body and the spirit. But that's not me. That is wisdom. That's the beginning of wisdom. So we feed the mind, we feed the body with knowledge and various other understandings in order to live in life. And that is, we might say, important. I won't say essential, because essential is something that is always necessary in every part. Important means it's necessary. But it can be unimportant in other situations. So to maintain the body and mind, and the knowledge that you have in order to maintain the body and mind, is not the success of life. Or to get what you want in this world is not the success. Because all these things are changing. But who I am, and what is my relationship with everything, what is my existence, and how to live a life in such a way that I can maximize real knowledge and happiness. That means that knowledge that is fundamental to success in life. What is success in life? Success in life is happiness. Not just fleeting happiness that comes within a few moments and is gone the next. We don't call that happiness. We call that just some stimulation of the mind and the senses. Real happiness is that happiness that is there in every situation, no matter what you're going through. Even if you were dying, that happiness will be there because it's fundamental to your existence. So how to tap into that knowledge? And that's where ancient wisdom comes in. It teaches us a practical lifestyle to awaken our intelligence to something that is, when we say, hidden within our existence. And what is that hidden? Is that we're spiritual beings. That is our nature. That is our essence. But the world today feeds the external and forgets. It's like if you have a bird inside of a cage, and you just polish the cage, and the bird doesn't get fed, what happens? The bird dies. The cage might look nice, might be a very expensive cage. But that's today's knowledge, how to make the cage look pretty. But forget about the bird. So spiritual knowledge is, it's not just about God or a relationship with the Supreme, it's about applying that knowledge in every situation. Because the basis of happiness is what? Relationship. The quality of your relations is the basis of your happiness. Not by how much you have or what you're doing. It's all about relationship. We even see that. People look for the ideal relationships within friends or families and others. And we think we can improve a relationship simply by, our external, what we say, external qualities or characteristics. But the relationship is already there. When the relationship is based on something that is unchangeable. What is the essence of that relationship? That every living being can find relationship with each and every living being when we understand our relationship with the Source. A tree, the essence of a tree is its roots. When the water goes on the roots and the roots are taken care of nicely, the bark of the tree develops nicely, the crown grows, and then there's nice fruit. But if one tries to, just make the bark nice by, throwing some water on it or doing something, same way with the crown, the roots are not being taken care of. And what happens? The tree dies. Maybe not right away, because the essence is nothing. So when we take care of our spirit, we take care of ourselves. When we take care of ourselves, we take care of our relationships. When we develop relationships based on something that is not based on what we say, something that is always changing. Nobody likes change. But because no one is happy with the present situation, we keep changing. Therefore, looking for something better. So everyone is changing, trying to improve. But the idea is to get to something where it doesn't change. That's the whole thing. So that knowledge is there. I'll give you an example. The United States government. You've heard of them, right? Some people. Well, they also do various types of what we say, we call it polls, taking statistics, trying to understand things in a broader sense. So there's so many think tanks and there's so many agencies that collect data on various subject matters. So a few years ago, about 5 years ago, they started to take a poll on what country in the world is the happiest country. Everybody's rushing to America, right? Because they think that's the land of the, you know, whatever you want to get, you can get. But the conclusion was, this is amazing because it's coming from a secular society, the happiest country in the world is Bangladesh. Now, if you've ever been to Bangladesh, I've been there a few times, the roads are not even good. You can't even drive on the roads, are full of holes, and people live in, it's a very simple lifestyle. People are happy. Why? Because they practice that knowledge, which is the basis of life. And it's not so much the economic or the, you know, the external development. It's not there at all. It's a very simple culture. It's completely undeveloped. I mean, I've been to India. India's 50 times more developed than Bangladesh. Bangladesh used to be a part of India, but now it's not. And the people are simple, but they're happy. And you can see it. They're happy. So what is that happiness? They know that it's not simply a simple lifestyle that's making them happy. That's part of it. But they know the essence of life is to connect with themselves as spiritual beings. And therefore, their relationships are based on those principles. So, ancient wisdom is more or less applying that knowledge in today's world. Just like we might say, you know, people are chasing after wealth, right? But its statistics show that the most miserable people in the world are the wealthiest. It's not the poor people. It's not. It's amazing because the highest rate of depression, mental illness, and various types of, you know, stress and anxiety are coming from the higher echelon in society. That's a proven fact. Another poll taken by the United States government, World Health Organization, actually. So wealth is seen as a way to satisfy your needs or desires. So if you have wealth, you can do this, you can do that, you can get this, you can go here, you can do that. And everybody's getting it like that. So, but it shows that this kind of wealth, although wealth has some value in terms of fulfilling needs, it is not the source of happiness. There's an old saying that you are wealthy by how much you have that money cannot buy. You are wealthy by how much you have that money cannot buy. What money can't buy? Money can't buy happiness. Money can't buy relationships. Money cannot buy peace of mind. Money can't buy any of these things. So where does these things come that are the cause of happiness? When we connect with ourselves. And this is where Vedic wisdom comes in. It teaches you how to connect with yourself. And therefore, there's ways to connect with yourself. It's called meditation. It's a practical thing. It's applying spiritual vibration onto the mind, where the mind awakens. Now, the mind is not the brain. The mind is not the brain. The brain is a machine. The mind is the seat of emotions and desires. So some people, you know, scientists and philosophers speculate, where is the mind within the body? They can't find it because it's not a physical element. The mind is the source of thinking, feeling, and acting based on those thinking and feeling. That's the mind. But the brain is the thing that these desires and feelings are processed through. It's not the brain is simply a machine. That's all. It's a nice machine. It makes things work. Just like when we hear, is the ear hearing? No. The ear is the instrument for hearing, but who's hearing? You're hearing, but who are you? There's go back to the spirit again. The spirit is hearing through the external machinery of the body or relating through the thing, but the actual individual is something different than that. So this knowledge is valuable because it teaches you something that is most valuable, and it teaches you how to overcome fear. Everybody, every living entity has some element of fear, and some people are always fearful. So what is that? What is the ultimate principle of fear? One word. Somebody said it. I heard it sound somewhere. The ultimate principle of fear is death. Right? Everyone is trying to protect themselves and arranging to ward off or to somehow. But Vedic knowledge teaches you that you can even overcome the fear of death when you realize that you don't die. It's a fact, you don't die. Now, sounds like something that doesn't make sense. You don't. You don't die because you are never born. Because you're never born, you never die. Your body is born, and that will die. But that's not you. So when the body takes birth, how does it take birth? The soul enters into the body and gives the body life and animation and growth. So the body is alive only because of the presence of you, the soul. And when the soul leaves the body, that's called death. When the soul is in the body, that's called life. So the body is never alive. It's a machine. And even scientists know that. It's made up of various ingredients. The scriptures say it's made up of 5 elements: earth, water, fire, air, and ether, combined in various formations and makes up the physical body. And then the subtle mind is, the subtle being is made up of mind, intelligence, and a sense of self, or ego. But beyond that, there's another person, and that is the soul, which gives life and animation to the body. So death simply means the end of the body. That's all. And where we go after we leave the body, this is the whole essence of wisdom. And everybody, some people are planning like, what am I going to, what's going to happen to me in, in 5 years? What will I, what will I be? What will I have? Will I be happy? People are making plans. Well, what about the plan for after death? Does anybody have a plan for that? Everybody think, well, after that, it's just, well, it's out of my control. But Vedic wisdom teaches you that how you live now will not only determine what happens to you in this life, but later on, it can bring you to a destination that is better, a better destination in the next life. Because the soul, or the spiritual being, you, is not subject to change and not subject to time. It's not subject to anything. It says in the Lord himself speaks to Bhagavad Gita. He says, for the soul, no birth, no death, no old age, no disease, no beginning, no end, cannot be burnt by fire, withered by the wind, destroyed by weapons. It's immortal. So when we apply Vedic knowledge in our life, we can get a realization of our existence beyond this temporary, what we say, ephemeral existence that is always changing, always changing. And it also teaches you, I'm not just giving you an afterlife formula, it teaches you how to live life now in such a way that you can maximize your happiness based on real knowledge. The word ignorance means to ignore. It comes from ignore, ignorance, an English word. What are we ignoring? We're ignoring our own existence, or the purpose of our existence, and therefore, a person in knowledge doesn't suffer one in England in ignorance because they act in the wrong way, think in the wrong way, cause someone suffering. So Vedic knowledge is practical, and it's also transcendental. Transcendental means it brings you to higher and higher realizations of your existence. So where is that knowledge? It's in the Vedas. And the essence of the Vedas, for many, is the Bhagavad Gita. The Bhagavad Gita was spoken by the Lord himself. And it was spoken on a battlefield. The most unlikely place to get what we say ancient wisdom or spiritual knowledge on a battlefield. But and if you think about it, it's the difference between, when you're on a battlefield, there's a difference between life and death. So the Lord was showing that this knowledge is the difference between life and death. When you have this knowledge, you're free from death. When you don't have this knowledge, you're somehow or other trying to find something permanent in the present existence, which is not permanent. So this knowledge is valuable. We apply it and we can understand it. So how to access that knowledge? Well, that's the ancient scriptures. The Bhagavad Gita and many other the Vedic scriptures teaches us. Not only teaches you the knowledge, it teaches the application of the knowledge. Because the application is important. Just like if you walk into a restaurant and you sit down to a table and you want something to eat, and the waiter comes and gives you the menu. And you read the menu and say, wow, that was a great menu. Nothing happens except reading the menu. So theoretical knowledge is like that. It can't satisfy us. We need what is called that knowledge, which is, it starts in the theoretical principle, but it is applicable in each and every situation. That is where Vedic knowledge comes. And that comes with understanding our essence. And to bring our essence away from the material into the spiritual, there's mantra meditation. So meditating on transcendental sound vibrations, and they've done experiments with meditation now, how it affects the mind, how it affects the intelligence. Meditation focuses the concentration on something. Meditation doesn't mean void or nothing. Have you ever tried to think of nothing? If I tell you, okay, for 10 seconds, think of nothing. What are you going to think? Where are you going to go? It's not possible to think of nothing because the mind is active and it's always thinking of something. Even if I say think of nothing, you're going to think of nothing, think of something that is nothing. Because it doesn't work. So meditation means to focus the mind on something that is not changeable. And then that is in line with your existence, which is not changeable. You mesh the two together, and then you start to realize yourself as being the same. You start to realize yourself. So applying that knowledge is the meditation on sound, spiritual sound vibration. Spiritual sound. We meditate on spiritual sound vibration. We awaken our own spiritual nature. And that awakening, and this goes back to what I said at the beginning, includes knowledge. Because knowledge is already in you. It's there. It's inside of you. And this is practically understood even within language, because the word education is a Latin word, and it comes from the word educare. And educare means to bring out. Doesn't mean add on. You don't need to add anything because you know everything. You just have to bring it out. And that's called intuitive knowledge or wisdom. So when we connect with spiritual sound vibration, we connect with a force that awakens our spiritual existence, and that knowledge starts to manifest. And so we chant, of course it's God's name, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. These are spiritual names. They're not material. And to prove that, if you try to chant something over and over again, you get tired. It's just a fact. You get tired of doing the same thing over. Anything material or anything that is temporary gets old in time. You see that with anything. When you get something new in this world, it's nice at the beginning, but after some time, it gets old. You get tired of it. It's the way life is. Because everything in this world is nice at the beginning, but after some time, it doesn't satisfy you as a spiritual being. So you look for something different, something new. But spirit is always increasing and always more and more joyful. So when you apply spirit chanting of the spiritual names, God's names, the consciousness just becomes more and more joyful, happy, peaceful, and full of knowledge. It's practical. Practical means that there are those who are doing it and getting the results. Experimentation proves, just like science now. Science speculates on what is reality, but they can't give any experimentations and speak about what is beyond this world. But all they can do is hypothesize with no conclusion. Unless you actually can show proof of your hypotheses, then your conclusions are useless, basically. But when you apply spiritual understanding, you'll find that things don't change, but actually grow. So these are some practical things. Okay. So, I can stop there. I hope it wasn't too theoretical. Anyone would like to ask a question? Any comments? No questions?
Can astrology, can be considered as wisdom?
Astrology, but if you see, the science of astrology is a bona fide science. But have you met any astrologers that agree with each other? Every astrologer has his own angle of vision of what is astrology and how astrology works. But there is a thing called Vedic astrology, which is called Brigo Samhita. That astrology that can tell you past, present, and future. There are astrologers in India that are called Brigo readers. You can go to them and they can tell you who you were in your last life and what will happen in your future. That's real astrology. That's real astrology. So it's hard to find actually bona fide astrology in today's world. But astrology is a bona fide science.
And is there any connection between Eastern and Western astrology?
I'm not exactly sure of the differences in terms of, but one works on the movements of the sun and the other one works on the movements of the moon. So there's a dichotomy there. Western astrology works on the solar system, and Eastern astrology does by the moon cycles. the lunar system. But astrology is a bona fide science. But when one practices transcendental meditation, one's future changes. So when we apply spiritual knowledge, we change our destiny. Whereas the best of all astrology can show you your destiny under the present circumstances you're in. But if you can change your destiny for the better, then astrology won't be able to help you with that. But astrology is bona fide science. As I mentioned, the Brigu readers in India, you go to them, they're hard to find. There's very few of them still left within existence. But they can tell you who you were in previous lives, and what you're doing in this life, and what will happen to you in this life. It's like past, present, and future exists within the Akash. Everything is there within existence. Past, present, and future is material. So those who know the science can go forward in the future and back in the past. Because past and present and future are all something that is within the material realm. Even what they call prophecy, right? Prophecy, people can see into the future through prophecy. You take a set of circumstances, you apply a certain set of principles, and then you can, based on that situation in the present, you can understand what will happen in the future. So I wouldn't trust much astrology. I mean, astrology can be helpful if you want it, when you get married, you see if there's some astrological compatibility. That helps a little bit. But it's not perfect. Yes?
So then, how much of free will do we have?
Your free will is there, but it's conditioned by the way you think. If you want to change your life totally, you would have to change your whole way of thinking. And that may take time. We use an example we call free will and destiny. Destiny is the direction you're headed in. Free will is the force where you can change your destiny. But the force of destiny is stronger than the force of free will. So the free will has to be strong in order to change the destiny. It has to be constant. So, for example, if you're driving in a car, and if you have to make a turn, the faster you're going, the harder it is to make that turn. So the speed of your destiny is pushing you in a certain direction. Your free will is trying to make that turn. So your free will has to be stronger, very strong. In other words, your determined desire has to be very strong. And sometimes it takes a long time in order for you to overcome your destiny. But that's where a spiritual practice comes. It gives you the strength and the vision how to move away from a particular destiny. But free will is there, because free will is part of your existence. Just like I can give you an example how free will is influenced. You may want to, just like you go to college to get an education, and you're determined to get an education, but there's a party tonight. So you want to go to the party, but you know you got to take time for your education. So your desire is education, but the party is like something I like, so that pushing you in that direction. So you have to be a little stronger in this direction. It's just an example. to show how we're influenced by our desires. If we want to make a radical change, the best way to make a radical change is to associate with people who are doing what you want to do. When you associate with people who are doing what you want to do, or being what you want to be, you get the support, and that fortifies and strengthens your free will, or your desire. So association is very important. Does that help?
Yes.
Thank you.
And what about the coincidence? Does it exist?
Coincidence really means I don't know why it's happening, but it's happening. When you know, it's not a coincidence, right? But coincidence, we might say chance, coincidence, these are things that are happening, but you don't know why. And you can't put together the reason. But it's not. We understand that there's an order of nature. Nature's working in a certain order. So things are happening according to a certain higher plan. So when we don't know the higher plan, there's so many coincidences. When we know the higher plan, it's easily understood. But nothing's coincidental. There's a reason why something happens. There's a reason why everything happens. There's a force of existence that is pushing. Just like we see how nature works according to a situation. Everything is programmed perfectly. Nature is the perfect, what we say, machine for organizing activities in this world. But it's working under a higher authority. That's the Supreme. So we see there's a certain order. Now, when something comes outside of the order, we call it chance or coincidence. But that means we don't know the finer aspects of that order. When we know the finer aspects of the order, we understand that karma may cause something to happen now that was done in the past. In other words, your previous karma will make something happen presently, and you can't see the connection, coincidence. It's a nice word. It's a very, what we say, pleasant word, coincidence. Makes us feel good. But ultimately, nothing happens by chance or coincidence. There's a reason for it.
But if there is a free will, I mean, we can...
Yeah.
There is a free will, or
Yeah.
coincidence not?
Your free will will bring about a result one way or the other, but still you get a result. Your free will is limited, as I explained in terms of destiny and free will. It's limited because it's conditioned by the way you think and the way you are and so many things. If you want total free will, you have to jump completely outside of your present situation. So we say that free will is more or less relegated or understood between choosing the material or the spiritual. That's the essence of your free will. Now, if you choose the material, then there's so many choices within the material, but since you chose the material, there's a set of laws and rules that work within the material, so therefore your free will is limited by the choice you've made already. When you choose the spirit, there's no limitation because spirit is not limited. It's unlimited. That's the difference. So the basic principle of free will is to choose either material or spiritual. Does that make sense?
Yes.
challenge me if you have to. I'm just like, you chose to be here. You could have been someplace else, right? That was your choice. That's your free will. But maybe somebody could have came along before you got here and said, hey, you got a better place to go. But
coincidence.
huh?
It would be coincidence, maybe.
It would be the strength of your...
Maybe somebody could come and tell me.
Yes, it'd be the strength. If you have a desire to be here, you'll be here. But if your desire is mixed, I want to be here, but maybe if something else comes up, I'll go there. And then that thought activates the energy, and something else may give you an opportunity not to be. So you see, everything is based on one principle. If you understand this, you understand it. Everything is based on desire. That's your free will. You have a desire to achieve something, and you use your free will in order to fulfill that desire. When you change your desire, you change how your free will works. So we say change your desire from the material to the spiritual and access complete free will. Then you're no longer controlled by the material, you're under the guidance of the spiritual. And under the guidance of the spiritual, you're free, because that's you. Make sense? It's all explained in the Bhagavad Gita. What is the difference between free will and how free will works in relationships to our desires. We don't have complete free will under the material energy. We can't. I want to run the red light, but there's a police officer there. Your free will is finished. You just can't. You follow certain laws like that. You know, what is it? A cow can eat grass and produce milk, but don't try to eat grass and produce milk. It won't work. But that's the nature of a cow, because it's organized that way. That's God's arrangement. Yes, you have a question.
What do you think about the idea in Taoism, in the ancient Chinese philosophy, that you need to unlearn everything in order to be fully yourself? That you don't need knowledge, but you need to get rid of the knowledge and just unlearn so that you can be yourself.
Yeah.
The harmony.
We say the same thing. Unlearn what you don't, but unlearn that stuff that is contrary to real knowledge. And unlearning is getting rid of the ignorance, or getting rid of the misconceptions. The principle is, if you want a glass of milk, and somebody says, here's a glass, and you want to put milk in it, but it's filled with water, you can't put any milk in it. You have first to dump the water, and then you can put the milk in. So, when we try to understand spiritual knowledge, we filter it through our misconceptions of material understanding, and therefore it makes it hard to understand. So take the spiritual knowledge the way it comes, and try to understand it in its essence. And then you can understand it easily and quickly. But if you have so many misunderstandings, wrong understandings, then it's hard to learn. It's impossible to learn. There's a music school in Vienna, very popular, that if you want to enter, one of the qualifications for entry is no previous musical training. Because they have to teach you to forget about that other way in order to teach you the way they want to teach you. So the more you're free from the wrong idea, the easier it is to accept the right idea. That's the Tao principle. It doesn't mean you have to forget, that you have to give away do away with knowledge, you have to do away with those things that are contrary to knowledge. Or that knowledge which is changeable. Anything that's changeable is not truth. We might say it's temporary truth, but temporary truth is not real truth because it's changing. Is it truth when it's this thing, or when it changes again, is it truth when it's there? Or is the next time is it truth? When is the truth? It can't be truth anytime because it's always changing. So that knowledge that doesn't change, that's the Tao, that's the way. So get rid of that knowledge that is changeable, that is based on speculation, theory, hypothesis, change. You are a spiritual being. You can never be anything but that. That's your existence. Whether you're in this body, another body, 10 million years from now, you'll be the same person, except you'll have different material coverings, but you'll be the same person. That's knowledge. That's unchanging. Then the question is, well, since I'm a spiritual being, and wherever I am, or whatever body I am, I'm the same. And the question is, what do I do, and what is my source? Then that's where you can access real knowledge. Understanding the activities of the soul, understanding the activities of the soul in relationship to our source of existence. That's knowledge. That's the way. So there is a way, but get rid of the wrong way. Are you a man? No, you're not. You're in a man's body. You're not a man. You're playing that role because you have a body like that. So, but you're inside that body. You're the person who is witnessing the changes of the body and perceiving the things around you. Your body is changing, but you're not changing. Your perception is always there, but you're perceiving things differently. But the perceiver is the same. That's you. When you understand that, you're free. You're free. You're free from death. You're free from anxiety. You're free from all difficulties. But if you think I'm a man, then as a man, I should, fulfill my role as a man. So you can do that, but it's a drama. So it's a drama. When the curtain's over, then the act stops. So we're just playing these rules. We're not men, we're not women, we're not a dog, cat. These are the apartments you live in, or these are the cars you drive. That's all. And so basically what happens to the body doesn't happen to you. But still, you protect the body, you keep the body. The body is valuable because you're in it. And it's a very valuable tool to understand who you are and how to find yourself. But that's all. So the way is something eternal. Getting rid of all that other stuff is what is temporary. So forget this idea you're a man. It's true. You'll realize it one day. You can realize it through scripture, knowledge, and through practical activities, or you'll realize it at the time of death, when your body falls away and you're still there. There was a question over here.
Is there any actual proof for the soul? Because many people today think it's some kind of middle-age term, not important in modern life.
Well, you could apply some empirical formulas to try to help you understand, but ultimately the knowledge is based on higher authority. The empirical formulas, what I just described, is you're perceiving all the changes around you and with your body, but the perceiver doesn't change. You are the same person. I'm witnessing my body's going, I was a baby, had a baby's body, an old man's body, a middle-aged body. Body's changing, but I'm the same. I'm perceiving the change. So the perceiver is a symptom of consciousness, and consciousness is the symptom of the soul. Consciousness is not matter. You can't combine matter and produce consciousness. Earth, water, fire, air, ether doesn't make life, nor does it make love. If you combine all the ingredients in your body, then where does the element of love come? Can earth and water and fire love? Love is an expression of existence. It's the nature of our being. The soul is the essence of our existence, and the soul is the composite of love. Love is coming from the soul. It's coming through the body, through the mind, through the senses, but it's the source. So when you understand everything around you is changing, but you don't change, then you understand I'm something different. That's the soul. That's spirit. The scriptures describe or give a very detailed and empirical experiment that you can make to perceive yourself different than your body, using your intelligence. You don't say, I hand, you say, my hand. You don't say, I body, it's my body. Well, who's me? Right? But ultimately, you have to take the complete knowledge from wisdom, ancient wisdom, to understand everything completely. That's the easy way. Is another question?
I just wanted to comment on the coincidence. Could we just call a coincidence a way of perceiving the world just from only our perspective?
Yeah. Coincidence could be a way of perceiving the world from our perspective. But then again, someone else has a different perspective. And somebody will say, it's not a coincidence. Right? So, it's coincidence for one person, but not for someone else. What's the word coincidence means? What's the actual dictionary definition of coincidence? Vitakishore? You know?
It comes from Latin and from two words, co and incidence. So, there needs to be a cause and effect. And that's how I see it.
Not knowing the cause and seeing the effect. Is it a coincidence you're here? No. You might say, I try for something and something different happens. That's a coincidence. Does that make that closer to the definition? I wanted something to happen, but something different happened. Coincidental? That means your desire is not everything. There's some other force that's making things happen. Okay. Dictionary definitions. Yes?
Since you say that it's not possible to meditate towards nothing, then what do you say about the Taoist technique called the Wu Ji or Wu Wei, which aims precisely to meditate about nothing.
How can you, they're trying to slow down the thought process where the mind becomes devoid of materials. But still, the mind is thinking. You can't stop thinking. Even when you go to sleep, the thinking process works in the form of dreaming. When you're in deep sleep, it's still working, but you're not perceiving it. So the mind can never stop. The mind is always moving. So by devoiding the mind of objects, you're thinking that, I'm meditating on nothing. But nothing means the opposite of something. So it's another form of something. Nothing. That's the nature of material. And you can only do that for how long?
I don't know.
They have transcendental meditation. They teach you, just like TM, to the course in TM. They give you a mantra, and then you meditate on the mantra so you can slow the mental process down, where you're just meditating on that sound. And then the sound brings a sense of peacefulness in the mind, where there's no other thought. But you can go to sleep and do the same thing. When you're sleeping, you're not aware of the thoughts. So meditation is a kind of like, because scientists have proven that when you're sleeping, you're on the level of delta waves, there's gamma waves, beta waves, different activities in the brain. When you're sleeping, you're on the level of delta. And meditation is also on the level of delta. It's the same thing. That means when the brain waves are so slow that one is not actually thinking of an object. But still, the thought process is still going on. And how long can you do that for? Therefore, in order to increase the quality of meditation, when you meditate on something that is not material, because it's not material, by meditating on it, you go deeper into it. Spiritual is what we say, unlimited, and material is limited. So by putting a spiritual object or spiritual concept in the mind, such as the form of God or the name of God, then the mind can constantly go into that form or name and go deeper and deeper into that meditation. Where nothing meditation may last for a little while, but after a while, you want something. You want your life to be nothing? I want to be nothing. It's like going to sleep. It's the same thing. When you get bored, you think, I'm going to sleep. When you're unhappy, sleep is another form of unhappiness. Sometimes people sleep just to forget about their misery. So that type of meditation doesn't really last. It's not long term. The idea of that is to purge your mind of everything material. So it's a halfway point in the meditation system. Then bring about a spiritual object. And then when you bring about a spiritual object, then your consciousness goes into the spiritual. And then it goes deeper and deeper into your own existence as a spiritual being. So we meditate on something spiritual, God's form, God's name, God's qualities, God's activities. These are spiritual. And when the meditation actually becomes complete, you enter into that meditation. You actually can become part of that meditation. So the meditation you're speaking about is a halfway point. It's not a complete. It's good. If you're miserable and you try to get rid of everything miserable, that's nice, but it's not happiness. The next stage is happiness. Happiness is activity. If I tell you do nothing, will that going to make you happy? Well, at least you won't be miserable for a while. But how long can you do nothing? You can't. Your existence is sentient activity. That's your existence. So it's helpful, but it's not complete. Is that okay? Thank you. Good question. Anything else? Did you have a question?
I have a question. I would just like to shortly reflect. I really thank you for your nice lecture. And I really liked your explanation about this karma and coincidence things. It's a little complicated because it's like to explain quantum physics in one short lecture. And that's why I said also, I read a little bit of Bhagavad Gita so I can understand what you said really precisely. But I wanted to ask a question regarding in today's society there is so many confusion about what is spirituality, how to find spiritual path, and there is so many different people like saying this is the right path, this is the right path. So how to really see what is the true path and what is how we can really become and take spirituality?
Well, first you have to find out what is the goal of that path. That path is presented. What's the goal? And when the goal is in line with your nature, then you can say that's a bona fide path. So what's the goal? Some spiritual paths teach you, free from stress, free from anxiety, free from, and you can become powerful, you can access so many material things in your life. But these are all temporary things. And anything temporary means at one point it's no longer there. You want a goal that is not temporary, that is eternal. So the goal is love. Our path is a path of love. Or to awaken love within yourself that is complete, perfect, and in connection with your source. So we speak of love of the Supreme being the ultimate goal. And when you find that, you'll find everything else. It's like if you have a million kunas, you have 1,000 kunas also. The smaller is included in the larger. So when you find love, that perfection of love, you found everything you need. So that path that teaches love of the Supreme. So any path that's teaching that, that's valuable. And what is love? Love is based on service. It's just like if you love someone, you want to serve them. Because service is an expression of love. Just like two people are married, so they show their love by serving each other, by doing what the other person likes. So you show your love for someone by serving them and pleasing them by what you do. That's love. Love is more than a feeling, it's an activity of pleasing the object of your love. If I love you and I see you're happy by what I do, doesn't that fulfill my love? If I love you and you're not happy, then I'm not happy also. So your happiness is my happiness, and if I can make you happy, that's love. Right? So when we find that in the Supreme, we find that within everything and everybody. Because it's the source, the Supreme is the source of everything. So everyone's looking for love. Really? It's the ultimate principle of happiness. Anything else?
I have a question. What is a real relationship with when we get something out? Is it just our material work we should ignore?
We're part of nature.
Living things.
we get from nature, and we can also give to nature. What are we getting from nature? Air, water, food, so many things. Nature is giving us our bodily existence, our bodily needs, like that. So what can we give back to nature is follow the laws of nature. Don't break the laws of nature. Live in accordance with the laws of nature.
And thus, nature itself has a spiritual essence.
Yeah. We say God is Father, nature is Mother. God is the source, Mother is providing. Mother provides everything in the family, God is the source, giving everything to Mother in order for her to provide for the children. So nature is like Mother. She takes care of us, she provides for us, she even protects us. She's a living being. So, if we don't pollute the water, we don't pollute the air, if we live in accordance with the rules of nature of morality and ethics, if we live a moral and ethical existence, then we're actually following the laws of nature. If we cause unnecessary violence towards another person, we're breaking the laws of nature. So there's principles like that. It's interesting. All the species of life live according to nature. The human being is the only one that can mess it up. Because we have free choice, we can either work with it or work against it. So if we follow the laws of God, we work with the laws of nature, which are the same. Nature's mother. So one of the ways we can be, to give back to nature is to be thankful for what nature gives us. Don't take it for granted. Don't take it for granted. Okay, anything else? Are we carrying on to leave? If anybody has to leave, and it's too late, please, you may freely go, because I think there's some more questions. Yes, another question?
Can I just say something before? If somebody wants to leave, like you can take, there is a little mala zakuska, Croatian way. I just am Croatian. And also, so we are hosting these programs regularly, so please also you can fill the questionnaire in the entrance there. And you can leave your data so we can tell you what is when we get the next program. And if you need to leave, you can, but Maharaj will be answering more questions. So
I saw two more hands.
Yeah.
Okay, yes.
So what would be your advice to us so we can live a happier life?
Take up the
something practical.
Take up the spiritual path.
Something practical.
Practical, something you don't even have to do anything. Try some mantra meditation. Chant the names of God. You don't have to visit any temples. You don't have to read any books. Just chant the names of God. You can do that anytime, any place, anywhere. And immediately, because it's spiritual sound, you'll start to see a change in the way you perceive things. So do we have any mantra cards? No?
But if they leave their data, we can send them.
What did you have in the back there?
And there is a small questionnaire. They can leave their data, so we can send.
I have a question.
Yes. Okay.
It's the basic prerequisite for feeling true love.
What is the basic prayer for true love?
Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Please accept my offering of this wonderful prayer in glorification. Try it. It's not that hard. We say sometimes the process of spiritual life is so easy, you'll miss it. Because we're so sophisticated. Let's see, I wrote something down here. Simplicity is not primitive, whereas sophistication seems to be modern, right? The more sophisticated you are, the more advanced you are. But really it means the more complicated you are, and the more you can't perceive the basic, simple, beautiful things in life. We forgot about nature, and we're just so much involved with the movements of the external atmosphere. So the chanting of these 16 words, 3 words 16 times, is an expression of our devotion. It's an expression of love. And as soon as you connect your heart, they say give your heart, right? But giving your heart is a conscious effort. It's not just like, I want to do something. You put your heart into it. And then you put your feeling into it. You put your energy into it. You want it to happen. You put everything you have into making it happen. So we should live life like that. Whatever we do, we put our heart into it completely. But it's hard to do that because a lot of things we don't want to do, but we just do it because we have to do it. But our relationship with the Supreme is natural. So when we put our heart into it, we find that our heart finds a natural proclivity to do it because it's natural. It's natural for a mother to love a child. The mother doesn't even have to think. Even if their child is the most stupidest kid in school, right? Doesn't know what he's doing, he gets all over. Still, the mother thinks my child's the best, right? It doesn't matter what the child has done or not done. It's our child. That's love. That's natural. So the love that we have for God is natural. It's natural. When you put your heart in it, you'll experience the naturalness again. Yes. And then, does that answer your question?
You mentioned that human being consists of earth, water, and air, which corresponds to body, soul, and mind. So I want to know what about fire, the fourth element, which corresponds to life force, life itself.
Where is fire in the body? Is that it? Where is fire?
There is fire as an element which constitutes the human being.
The body is made of earth, water, fire, air, and what we call ether or space. Fire is digestion. The fire of digestion. So you have fire in your stomach. The fire element is in the stomach to digest food. That's where fire is in the body. You have 10 airs in the body, 5 primary, 5 secondary, which make the functions of the body move. When the airs get disarranged or not working, that is called disease. So the airs control the bodily functions and make everything. Water nourishes the whole body and makes the body workable. If we don't have enough water, it will dry up. So fire is there. If the fire of digestion in the stomach goes down, then digestion is impaired, and then the whole body gets sick. So they say if you have good fire of digestion, you can digest anything. Even rocks. digestion, fire is really good. You can digest rocks. So fire is there in the stomach. That's in the body. Yes.
You said that everything is ordered according to by a higher authority, but also that humans have free will, which is limited by their desires. So does this authority determine these desires, or can humans go also against the higher authority?
Yeah. Your desire is what you have. You can choose. Your desires are influence, but your desires are you. That's your independence, that's your free will. You can go against the authority of the Supreme. You can go against the authority of anything. The state, the university. You can use your free will in any way you want. That's your free will. But if you know what's good for you, you won't. So the misuse of free will, thank you. The misuse of free will causes us, problems. But yeah, you have your free will. You have your free will. That's you. Actually, that's the only thing you have. Free will. And why do we have free will? And because love is based on free will. Without free will, there's no question of love. So God gives us our free will to choose. And we choose the right thing, and then we benefit. But your free will is strengthened. Your desires are strengthened. And the use of free will is strengthened by your association. Who you associate with, how you associate, will influence how you think and how you act. So if we associate with the spiritual energy, then our free will becomes expanded, and we actually come in contact with unlimited choices. Yeah, that's you, free will, or desire. Some people say you become desireless, but it's not possible. Desire is life. Anything else? I saw another somewhere. That was you.
I just wanted to make a short comment.
Yeah, sure.
I heard a very nice answer to that question about fire and the earth from Candramauli Swami. He was giving seminar on Ayurveda, and it's like Maharaj, like Candramauli Swami said, it's like very hard to, with our material intelligence and entanglement, to understand these points which are subtle. What to say about spiritual? And he said that fire doesn't mean like something like what we think that it's fire. It's transformational. So everything what is transforming the parts in our body, that's fire. Also the water is the liquid, everything what is like combining things. So this is like different point of view. This is what why it's important for somebody like that to explain.
That's correct. Okay, so voila. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this very nice lecture.